Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another videos. Arsenal have lost 2-0 to West Ham. Another masterclass from the David Moyes because they beat against Manchester United at home and they beat against Arsenal. They beat against Arsenal away from home. So this is a massive achievement and performance for West Ham because they played like 6 Premier League games in the December and they won 4 of them. They won against Tottenham Hotspur, they won against Wolverhampton, they won against Arsenal and Manchester United. So this is massive for David Moyes, right? But as for Arsenal, this is not good enough. When you look at today games against West Ham, they created chances, right? But they cannot use it, right? They cannot finish it. Especially Gabriel Jesus had a great chances. The beautiful crosses from the Bukayo Saka and Martin Odegaard, but they cannot finish it. This is a huge disappointment for Arsenal. And then Gabriel Martinelli, Zinchenko, and Leandro Trossard, they ain't good enough for Arsenal at the moment, right? Gabriel Martinelli was one of the best winger in the Premier League last season, but not this season. This season, he's been struggling since he returned from the injury. And today, against West Ham, left-hand side for Arsenal ain't good enough, right? So all their focus on the right-hand side. But every time the cross comes in the box, Gabriel Jesus didn't took the chances. So this is the problem for Arsenal. You're trying to compete, right? Not even trying, right? You are competing against Manchester City, against Liverpool. You don't even have a lot of injury this season like the others, but you still drop points. So when you look at the last 4 Premier League games for Arsenal, they dropped 8 points, right? They lost 3 points against West Ham, and 2 points against Liverpool, and 3 points against Aston Villa. So the last 4 Premier League games, Arsenal have dropped 8 points. So this is massive. When you look at Manchester City, now Manchester City have it's like 1 game left to play in the Premier League, and they were only 3 points off to Arsenal, and they didn't have Erling Haaland every single games. Sorry, they didn't have Erling Haaland like the past games, and then they didn't have Kevin De Bruyne like until now the whole season, right? And then they've lost like John Stone due to injuries, and they've lost like Rodri because of the red cards, and they lost points, they dropped points. So when you look at Manchester City, they have the reason why they look poor this season because they have numerous numerous reasons why they drop points. But when you look at Arsenal, they didn't have so many injuries like Liverpool and Manchester City, Brighton, Manchester United, and Spurs are having, and they simply ain't good enough, right? So when you are trying to win title this season, this is not good enough, right? They're trying to learn the lesson from the last season because they were like majority of the time in the Premier League they were seconds, and then they finished. They were first, and then they finished as a second, and this season they signed Declan Rice. They signed Declan Rice. They signed really good sign. They made a really good signing. But until now, when you look at the team performance, they ain't good enough. They're not really good. It's like winning games. This is not good enough because Manchester City are capable of winning like a 14-15 Premier League games straight, and they are going to do it once Kevin De Bruyne and like Erling Haaland return together, and once that like Rodri and John Stone are playing together, they are going to win definitely like straight matches. That is what Manchester City do. Since the Christmas time has passed, Manchester City are looking forward to win so many straight games, but Arsenal can't do that. When you look at Arsenal, you can say Arsenal is good at the moment, but when you look at the way from winning, from the winning perspective, right? When a team is trying to win the Premier League, this ain't good enough. Arsenal need to sign world-class striker if they are trying to win the Premier League. The reason Manchester City let Gabriel Jesus go to Arsenal is because of this. Now we can see it. Last season you might not see it, but this season you are seeing it, right? Because Arsenal, using Gabriel Jesus because he's like their main starter, the main striker. But when you look at it, this kind of games, he got a chances, right? He got chances, but he couldn't use it. He couldn't finish it. And then what happened? Arsenal lost. So this is not coincidence, right? Zinchenko is, on the position. Zinchenko is really great, but in terms of defending, he ain't good enough, right? He cannot stop Mohamed Kudus. He couldn't stop, Mohamed Salah. And then there were a lot of goals coming from his side. So Zinchenko can play midfield, but he cannot defend, and he's a left back, which means he ain't good enough for Arsenal to win a title. And then Gabriel Jesus is a great, like a link-up player, but he's not the number 9 who is going to, score the goals when Arsenal need it, right? So Arsenal need quality striker. That is very clear. If Arsenal cannot try to sign a striker who can score chances in January, I doubt Arsenal can win the league, because Manchester City is going back, and then Manchester City is coming back, and they're about to win like 10, 12, 14 matches straight, and then Liverpool is doing extremely well even though they have injuries. Can you imagine once the injury return for them? So for Arsenal, this season is not like last season, because they were good majority last season, and they stay like a lot of times they spend a lot of time on the number 1 spot, but they finally bought it. So this season they have to be better, because this is not like a 2 horses race. Liverpool has been involved, and then the teams are not that different in terms of point gaps. So for Arsenal, if they are trying to win that Premier Leagues, that ain't good enough, right? So I think Leandro Trossard can be a good subs. He can be a subs player, but he's not good enough to play for Arsenal. And then Gabriel Martinelli, he's not good enough. Martinelli is different when you compare to last season. Last season, Gabriel Martinelli is quite good, right? He can take on 1-on-1, he can dribble, he can shoot, he can score. He's very effective. But once he got injury and then he returned, he's not the same anymore. And he's been struggling to be 1-on-1. And the things he does is like he drag back and then he pass it back. That's it. He's a different player, not the same as last season. So Arsenal need to sign like a really good striker. That is the main thing. And then they need to sign a quality left back, or like someone who can take Gabriel Martinelli's spot on the left hand side, because they are not good enough to win the leagues, right? Maybe they can beat like against a top team, but in terms of like a long term, like a whole season, they are not good enough in my opinion. So now they have dropped 8 points in the last 4 Premier League games, which is not good enough to win the title. So what do you think about this Arsenal games? Make sure in the comment below. Do you think Arsenal can win title this season over Manchester City and Liverpool? Make sure in the comment below. So we're gonna see you next video. Thanks for watching, guys.